Hey preppers, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining us. I hear things all the time on the channel. People send comments and say stuff in our live streams that I can't believe preppers say this. I'm going to go through 6 of these, and hopefully you don't say these things. And if you do, you may actually want to listen through this whole video, because you know what? We need to prep in a smart way rather than, well, let's jump right into it. Number 1, I'm all set with my food and water. I understand history is full of people who have died from turmoil, not necessarily lack of food and water. I mean, obviously, lack of food and water is a huge thing, and that's why we prep, especially during wartime. But there's all kinds of cataclysmic problems, and the list goes on and on. I mean, watch this channel for the last year. The videos we put out, all the different scenarios that possibly could, or some of them probably will take place. We have to be ready for these things. You need to drill. You need to train. You need to do everything you can besides simply just stockpile food and water. And on top of that, by the way, if you do stockpile food and water, hopefully you're not storing it all in one place where if you do have like a house fire, it's all gone. Just think about that. Number 2, practice makes perfect. No, not at all. Perfect practice makes perfect. And that's the whole thing about trying to drill and train and watching videos. And, if you want to learn martial arts, learning it from a book, as Miyagi said, doesn't work. You need to go in and actually have somebody who knows what they're doing show you how to do it as an example. You need to practice perfectly, because what happens is right here in the cerebral cortex, it develops hardwire connections, literally neuron connections, that make it so when you practice perfectly, you're able to handle those situations without even thinking twice. It's awesome. And also muscle memory too. But guess what? If you're continuously training the wrong way, now you're making wrong connections, so when the time does come, you're actually going to be doing everything wrong. And now when crap hits the fan, you're in big trouble. So make sure you practice, but practice the perfect way instead of, well, obviously the way that's not perfect. Number 3, I'll show them. Okay, maybe people don't truly say that, but their actions are like this sometimes. People love to show off things, and especially when it comes to prepping and preparedness and all your stockpiles of food, whatever you have. There's something about boasting and saying, look at everything I have. And I'm not talking about very close family who also preps. If you have very close family that doesn't prep, you don't want to show them your stuff. You don't want to show your preps to anybody ever. But even beyond that, it's beyond simply showing what preps you have. Keeping things concealed and hidden and concealed when it comes to certain things that I can't say on YouTube is far more important than simply showing it and brandishing it and having things out in the open. Because once you do that, well, things change. People look at you differently. Not to mention, they possibly want to look at you as a victim in case you do start showing everything you have. So, you know what? Keep things under your sleeve. Keep them closer to home. Keep your cards to your chest. Don't go out and simply just broadcast everything that's going on in your prepping world. Number 4, I can't wait for crap hits the fan. Honey, grab the kids. We're heading to the forest. Woohoo. No, you are asking for big trouble. And it's really weird how people have this mindset. They romanticize looking forward to the day of crap hitting the fan. I think what it is they are so bored with their life of going to their job and working in their cubicle. They're like, finally, I can live my life. And unfortunately, our modern enslavement called employment and such is taken away that beauty we had of being out there working in nature, working with our hands. And I think people romanticize thinking that, well, if crap hits the fan, that's all going to change. And it will change, by the way. So their mindset is, I'm going to head out in the forest, eat squirrels, live with pine cones, and do all these fun things out in the forest. They probably have ideas of, you know what, I went camping last week for a week, and it was the best time I ever had, and I can't wait to live camping. They really romanticize being out in the forest. And I'm not saying you can't survive there, but unfortunately, that survival is going to last for most people like 1 week. Unless you practice actually being in an under stress situation where you have marauders, you have people trying to come take your stuff, you're trying to battle the elements and live out there permanently, trying to get food and water too, mind you, that's a whole different scenario. So look, obviously we prepare for crap hits the fan, but if you do have some romantic natures thinking it's going to be all glory, understand that a lot of people are going to die. Over 90% of the population is estimated will die because of this. And you know what? That does not sound romantic to me at all. Number 5, I have all my preps here. I'm not going anywhere. And I sometimes say this too, just a little bit, that I have my preps here. I have wood stoves, I have cooking, I have food, I have water, I have animals in the back. The list goes on. This is why we are out in the middle of nowhere. We'd planned this for years. And maybe you're in that same situation. You're like, I have everything I need here. I'm never leaving. Have you seen the news? Have you seen about the fires in Maui? Have you seen how people literally ran into the ocean? We're not talking about grab their bug out bag and head up further in the mountain, whatever. We're not saying that. They didn't get in their car and drive off, although some people did. Some people literally went into the ocean to escape the fires and had to be rescued by the Coast Guard. Have you seen the refugees fleeing Ukraine? Don't you think that in Ukraine there were some preppers there? Of course there were. There's preppers everywhere. And they're like, I'm not, okay, I guess I am leaving because here comes some forces that's going to kill me and my family. You need to keep in mind that no matter what preps you have in your house, you may have to leave and may have to leave very quickly. So I always say, have some kind of bug out bag, bug out tub, something, because you know what? We have no idea what's coming, especially for your house, especially here, being out in the forest in the middle of nowhere. That's a dream come true, right? Well, forest fires is a very real possibility. So always have a contingency plan. And I'm with you. Stay here. I'm not leaving unless I'm going to die. Then obviously you have no choice. But keeping your mindset, that may happen. Number 6, I'm locked and loaded. And I often put up like some political videos on this channel. And I really try not to stay on one side of the aisle. I don't like the way the government runs the country nowadays. I think the Founding Fathers is a different story. But when we talk about how things run politically speaking, I often get the comments below of, I'm locked and loaded. And I know they're probably being a little facetious or, it is a common catchphrase now, but that's something you should never, ever say. I mean, at the very least, are you crazy? Do you realize the government through metadata listens and records these comments? They know who you are. I'm locked and loaded. Not only are you saying what you have as far as having a firearm, but you're basically saying I'm going to cause problems. You see how the government's taking care of that now. Okay, that's beyond it. Don't even think about that part. You just need to stop anyway. I told you about in this situation, you want to make sure you keep things close to your chest. You want to make sure that people don't know what's going on. And I'm all for like open carry. And obviously I'm very much for my rights and amendments in the US where I'm able to do these things. I'm wording very carefully because of the YouTube Gestapo. But understand, even if that's the case, if I had the choice of carrying outwards where people see it or carrying it concealed, I will choose concealed every single time without a doubt. The reason I do that is because if you have a situation where somebody is going to act violently and they see you with your firearm, you're the first one they're going after. They're going to try to minimize the problems that they're going to have first. But if you're concealed, they have no idea. And therefore you have that element of surprise. So with that in mind, first off, obviously carry concealed if you can. If it's legal in your state, that's up to you in your state. But on the same note, don't let people know what you have. The worst thing is I've actually seen people get their concealed permit, and the first thing to do is go on Facebook and say, look, guys, I got my concealed permit. You completely lost the point of the whole thing. Okay, on top of that, locked and loaded. Don't think that device, that's a tool, all it is a tool, by the way. Don't think that tool is going to save your butt. I mean, it conceivably could if you're training, if you're practicing. And I'm not talking about standing in the typical isosceles triangle position, saying, okay, I'm going to stand here, which is a good position. I'm not knocking that at all. But, it gives you a position to look around and stuff. But don't think that somebody who's attacking you is going to be standing there saying, okay, you got me. Don't think that you'll be standing there. You'll probably be ducking for cover. Don't think that the whole situation is going to be, just practicing shooting at a target downrange. Not at all. It's tactical. It's always going to be tactical. So hopefully you train and drill tactically speaking, because simply saying I'm locked and loaded doesn't really impress me much. And I know a lot of people mean it facetiously, but what impresses me is when people actually go through the training and do what they need to prepare. It's all about training tactically. But on top of that, it goes back to as far as concealed, because understand that what is illegal is what's called brandishing your firearm. Brandishing is pulling it out saying, hey, all of you better get back. First off, you pulled it out. You're stupid. Secondly, the reason they're doing that is because you're scared. I mean, I'm not saying you probably don't do that, but there's a reason people do that is they're scared. In other words, I've got this tool. I don't know how to use it very well, so I'm going to flash it around, and hopefully that's enough to scare the people away. And guess what? Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. But either way, you are asking for trouble. All right, so there you go. There's 6 things that I hear people say all the time on the channel. Preppers say. I would love to hear more if you actually have some things people say that basically makes you shake your head and say, what are you thinking? Because that's not how it is at all. Put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear those too. And thanks for watching.